What's up YouTube, and welcome back to another Procreate tutorial where today we're going to go ahead and create a very flat window box design. Now, as always, there's links to everything you're going to need over on Patreon completely for free. You'll find the palette and canvas size. There's a link to that post in the description down below of this video, so it can take you straight to the content. And while you're there, make sure to check out the content that I've got over there, because I've got over 140 Patreon exclusive tutorials, and with 3 added every single month, that catalogue just continues to grow, and you can support me and all the work that I do here on the channel. I hope you enjoyed today's design. Make sure to tag me in your finished creations when you're done, and please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I know over 50% of people watching this are not subscribed, so make sure you are. Anyway, with all that said, enjoy today's tutorial and let's get started. So once you've created your canvas, we're just going to set up a few things. We're going to go up to our actions. We're going to go ahead and go to the canvas tab, and we're going to add a drawing guide and edit that drawing guide. We're going to set it to 500, set the grid size to 500 down here, and then hit done. Now, of course, you're going to need the palette. And the first color we're going to need is the top of the second column. Now, we're primarily going to use the selection tool, rectangle option selected, and color fill needs to be blue like this. So when you draw a square or rectangle, either, it goes ahead and fills that in for you. So let's go back to the selection tool, rectangle and color fill, and we're going to zoom in. And let's start off by creating the window sill. So we're just going to go roughly to here. Again, use my grid as an example. That's roughly okay. And then we're going to tap on our cursor. Make sure snapping is turned on in the bottom left, and you'll be able to get this orange line, which lets you know you are nice and central to the canvas. And you can use freeform with these because it's just a rectangle. I can make mine just a tiny bit narrower and shove it on the center there. From there, we'll go to our layers. We'll create a new layer, drag it underneath. We're going to carry on, so selection tool, and we're just going to bring it ever so slightly inwards, so probably around about here, and create the bottom area of the sill. Now try your best to kind of, make it central, but as always, we'll just grab our cursor straight away and put it in the center. That's going to be quite repetitive. And then on this layer, we're going to tap on it, alpha lock it, so we can't paint outside of it. We're going to add a shadow, so we'll go to our colors, we'll grab the middle of that second column. Go straight to your selection tool and rectangle and color fill. And then just underneath your little sill there, you can go ahead and just create a shadow and tap on your selection tool when you're done. That nicely isolates the shapes. And then using that, we're going to go ahead and go to the top part of the sill, tap on that, alpha lock it, go to your colors and grab the bottom of the second column, selection tool again. And then we're talking literally like 2 or 3 pixels. Start up here and just create a little bit of a lighter little bit to the sill. You can just about see a slight lighter part there. That'll help us later on when we separate even more of the shapes. Now let's carry on. Let's create a new layer. Let's drag it underneath. We'll go to our colors again and grab the top of the second column once again. Selection tool as always. We're going to go up towards the top now. We're going to create the sort of main body of the window. It wants to be slightly inwards of here. So you can sort of start here, drag up, and then try to find the position. And I think it needs to be just over halfway of that top row of our drawing guide. So I'm going to go try and measure it up as best as possible. Then grab my cursor and again, triple check it's nice and central like so. And then tap on my selection tool when I'm done. And that's why we added that little bit of a lighter line there, just to make sure that we can see it. Now, because these are all separated shapes, you can always go ahead and change some of them if you need to, make them bigger, wider, longer, etc. At any stage, which is going to be really fun and nice and easy. Let's then go ahead and grab that layer that we were just working on, swipe it to the left and duplicate it, grab your colors, grab the middle of the second column and drag it into that space. Then grab your cursor. I'm going to use freeform because I'll just manually keep adjusting it. I'm going to bring it inwards down to like here. I'm going to bring this one in as well. I need a little bit of a sort of stone on either side of the window. Now that's probably a little bit too much. We don't want to have too small of a window area. Something like that looks pretty good to me. And then from there, we can go ahead and actually start to build in the windows as well on the inside. So we're going to go to our layers. We'll create a new layer. We'll go to our colors. We'll grab the top of the first column. Selection tool selected again, and try your best to kind of align it to the sort of center of your screen. Now I'm way too zoomed in, so that's not really ideal. We're just going to try and again make sure we do that, and then you want to kind of leave like a bit of an even gap all the way around the top side and that left side, and then let go, and then tap on your cursor And it doesn't need to be central, of course. You just want to make sure it's touching that orange line somewhat. So you can see the orange line when I hold it just touches the edge of the shape. And then I could do with just maybe tapping once over here and then tap on my cursor when I'm done. We're going to do one of the windows first, and then we're going to go ahead and duplicate it and move it across. So what we'll do is we will go to this layer. We will go ahead and swipe it to the left and duplicate it. While we're here, swipe from left to right on both and group it together and just rename this group and call it window. It will just make life a lot easier in a second. And then the clipped layer, or the layer above, should I say, go to your colors, grab the top of the third column and drag it in, and then use your cursor. And we're just going to make this ever so slightly smaller. So you could use uniform or you can just use freeform. It's totally up to you. Now we need to make the window, of course, a little bit smaller and not make the frame too big, but you do need to have like a good amount of sort of space around the edge, of course, for the framing itself. And at the bottom here, we're going to probably just bring the window up a little bit as well. So there's like a little bit more of a clearance at the bottom. And that's not too bad. I could probably do with making that a little bit wider. Now, because we've got snapping turned on, you should be able to move it and you'll get this blue line that runs through the shape. That lets you know that you are central to the shape below. So we are nicely aligned. That looks pretty good. I'm going to tap on my cursor when I'm done. So we can go back to our layers. We'll swipe this one to the left and duplicate it, the actual glass. And the one below it, go to your colors and grab the darker tone, middle of the first column, and drag it into that window. From there, you want to go ahead and grab your cursor and then just make it ever so slightly bigger all the way around so we can create the sort of indent of the glass into the actual wooden framing. And then we'll just make sure, again, if you move it, you should get the horizontal and vertical blue line, which lets me know that is nice and sort of even around the edges there. And then from there, we can go ahead and tap on this layer here, tap on it and alpha lock it. Then go to your selection tool. We will switch it to freehand this time. Then go to your colors and we want to go ahead and grab the bottom of the first column. And we can zoom in because we want to create a diagonal cut across here. So you tap once and then you tap again. It doesn't need to be pixel perfect. And then you can come down the edge, down into this corner. And then by zooming in, I can go to this corner and again create a diagonal cut across. And then once I've made my sort of way into the inside, I can tap on the dot at the top and then tap on my selection tool when I'm done. And what that's done is it's just created that kind of recess in the window and create like a little bit of a shadow and a 3D effect. Now we are going to create some additional shadows as well. We're going to go down to the layer below. So it's the main bit of the frame. Again, we'll tap on it, alpha lock it. We'll go to our colors, grab the middle of the first column, selection tool selected. We want to sort of create like a bit of a overhanging shadow. So what we need to do is switch it back to rectangle, create like a bit of a shadow like here. And then I'm going to add in a shadow down the left side. So I'm going to come up that edge and up towards the top like so. Just trying to, again, indent it, create a little bit of a 3D effect to it. From there, we can go ahead and start to work now in front of the window here on this area here. So let's go ahead and create a new layer, tap on it and clipping mask it to the glass here, this lighter pane in the middle. We'll go back to our colors and grab the top of the first column, selection tool selected, and we're going to create the middle bar. Whatever thickness you create now, you do need to make sure it is equal in a minute on the horizontal aspect of it. So I just made mine a little bit wider. I'm going to move it, as always, to the center, trying to hit that blue line. Doesn't matter that I'm a little bit taller on that side. As long as I hit the center, it's fine. So there we go. And then what you can do is you can create another new layer, tap on it and clipping mask it. Go to your selection tool, and then roughly around about a third down, it doesn't need to be accurate at this stage, but roughly a third down, create a bar that's of equal sort of thickness to the one that you just created, and just zoom out, triple check. You know, you can always let go of your selection tool, go back in again and just chunk it out a bit more. That's a bit more accurate. And then from there, I'll swipe that to the left and duplicate it. Grab my cursor and just move that down, roughly sort of where I think I can kind of get away with it. Tap on my cursor when I'm done. And then I can go ahead and pinch them two together. Then grab my cursor and then just try and find that blue line of the center of that shape. Now, sometimes it gets confused with the other shapes around it, so just sort of eyeball it as best you can. Now from there, let's go ahead and add some effects to the glass in behind before we carry on. So this layer here, let's tap on it and alpha lock it. Let's go to our colors, and we've got a dark tone here, middle of the third column. Selection tool selected again. we're going to create the sort of shadowish area here, followed by another one over the top edge, and then we'll create a very, very thin one down the edge, like so on the right. So you can see my shadows there, 1, 2, and then a very thin one down that edge. What we'll then do is we'll create another new layer and it will clip itself to that shape. What we then want to go ahead and do is go to our colors and grab the bottom of the third column now. We will need to switch our brush to the calligraphy option of the monoline brush. So we'll find the monoline. We'll max out its size, and then we want to kind of create some glassy kind of lines to it. So we're going to drag a line across and pop one finger on the screen. Now, when you do that, you can pivot the line. So whatever angle you decide to pick is the angle that you need to go ahead and sort of mimic in a minute, like constantly across the glass. So I'm going to undo that because I let go. I'm going to come across, I'm going to pop one finger on the screen, and then that angle there is something I need to match, like up here. And then I'll make a slightly thinner line, maybe 17%, just to create some like glassy kind of shine across the pane, like so. Now you notice I haven't really done towards the bottom because our window box is going to get in the way. Now, the thing is, we've got lots of things happening there. I do want to go ahead and tap on the layer and just change its blend mode to soft light. That way the shadows can come through a little bit more as well. And then we've just got a little bit more shadowing, etc. to do to our bars. So if we go to our bars here, the horizontal ones, we'll tap on them and alpha lock them. We'll go to our colors and grab the shadow tone, so middle of the first column. Selection tool selected, and rectangle and color fill, of course, and then just a little bit towards the bottom edge. Lovely. We'll do the same down here as well. I do need to fix that by the looks of it. And then I need to go back to my layers. We'll grab the vertical bar this time and tap on that and alpha lock it. And then we'll go to our selection tool, we'll zoom out, and we will just try and do exactly the same, but because it's quite a long bar, it's a bit tricky to see, but that's not too bad. That would do. It's almost sort of close to halfway there, but just more towards that right-hand side of the vertical bar. Now, there is another shadow I need to create, and if I go back to my sort of main base shape here, I want to go ahead and go to my selection tool again and just add a bit of a shadow just down this edge, and I keep zooming a bit too far out, so you'll equally probably have the same problem because you do need to see the whole shape. But what I've done is I've just created like a dark line running down this edge here, which gives it that kind of additional bevel, a bevel and bezel, either. Now that's pretty much our window done. So what we can do is we can go to our layers. We've got our window here. You can swipe it to the left and duplicate it, and then the bottom one out the two, tap on it and flatten it. So it's one layer. You can grab your cursor. You can use freeform or uniform, it doesn't matter. You just need to move it horizontal to the right. And if you do, you'll see that there's blue lines both at the top, middle, and there should be one at the bottom, which lets you know you've moved perfectly across. Now, I've moved it to the center, and then I'm going to tap once to the right-hand side just to give it a gap in between there. So we've got our nice little sort of separation between the two of them. Now from that, we can move on to the shutters that are going to sit on the sides. And it's going to be a very similar process where we create one group and then duplicate it. Now, you can tap on your window group if you want to flatten it to save on your layers. I typically like to keep hold of it because say I want to make a change to the window later on, I've got the whole group and I can just repeat the process of duplicating it, flattening it, and moving the duplicate across to the right. But I'm quite happy with mine, but I'll keep the group anyway. We're going to go ahead and create a new layer in front of our window group. We're going to go to our colors again and grab the top left of the palette. We're going to grab our selection tool, rectangle and color fill, and we're going to do it over here on the left hand side. Now you want to kind of eyeball it as best you can, a little bit close towards the top of there. So maybe ever so slightly higher is not a problem at all. And you want to give yourself just about sort of a third, if not just a half of the amount of space on that little bit of exposed wall, and just down towards the sill as well. So we're coming down, we're going to go to around about, I think about, say, here, and I'll let go. Now, if I want to change it, of course, I can go to my cursor, freeform, and just make it ever so slightly wider. And I could make it a smidge taller if I really wanted to. Let's do that. And then it's in line with the top there of the recess. Now, it's also slightly behind the sill because the sill's closer towards us, and that's fine. Well, we can fix it if we need to in a minute. Now, on this layer, we're going to swipe it to the left and we're going to duplicate it. We're going to go to our colors and we're going to grab the middle of the first column and drag it into there. We're then going to grab our cursor, freeform. I nearly said just cursor there. We're going to make it quite small, a little bit narrower than we did with the window. And then you want that consistent kind of wooden gap all the way around the outside. And then a little bit, I'm going to put it a little bit more raised towards the bottom. That's fine. A little bit more of the wood framing, which is quite nice. And I think that looks pretty good. Now, once you're happy, just again, drag it in towards the center. Try not to move it, of course. And then tap on your cursor when you're done. I say move it in terms of you just want to drag it left or right, up or down, depending on what you need to do. Now, this dark blue is only temporary because we're going to create the actual shutters here. So we're going to go ahead and create a new layer, tap on it and clipping mask it. And while we're here, we're going to go to the bottom layer out of the two there. And I'm just going to grab, for example, let's grab the middle of the third column there and just drag it into that space for now. We'll go back to the clipped layer above. We'll go to our colors and we'll start off with this color here. It's the middle of the first column. Selection tool, rectangle selected, and you just want to create your first wooden shutter slat here. So you can create a rectangle across like so, and then tap on your selection tool when you're done. Then you want to go back to this layer, tap on it and alpha lock it so we can't paint outside of it. We'll go to our colors and grab the top of the first column. Grab your selection tool again, and then we want to create like the front edge of it. And then tap on your selection tool when you're done. And then go to your colors again and grab the bottom left of the palette. Selection tool once again, and then just a tiny little bit of a highlight edge on the bottom. So that gives us 3 colors and hopefully gives us enough separation between all of it. Now, what I want you to do there is just go ahead and use freeform if you need to, but just make it a little bit taller like I need to, just so it fills out the entirety of that top section. And then from there, we just want to swipe back to the left and duplicate it. Grab your cursor. You want to move it down until you are touching the bottom of the one just above it. Tap on your selection tool when you're done. And then pinch those two together, and this will speed up really quickly now because we can swipe it to the left and duplicate it. Move 2 down at the same time. See, I'm keeping that blue line as well. And then make sure they're touching. Then pinch them together and just keep duplicating all the way down. So once you pinch them together, you can do 4 in one go. And because it's the same object, it's perfectly fine in this particular sort of example of today's design. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go one more. So swipe it to the left and duplicate it and just move that down and see what it looks like when it gets to the bottom. I've somehow managed to actually get that looking pretty good. For example, if I move that back down again, I can see it just about levels out nicely at the very bottom. Now, if yours doesn't, you can go ahead and pinch these shutters together and then just grab your cursor and use freeform and stretch it out up or down in case you want to try and get it to a line, you know, like as super tidy as possible. But mine's okay, so I'm going to leave mine as it was. It's just in case yours isn't. And that is literally just a bit of luck there, to be honest with you. Then what we want to do is just create like a bit of recessing, etc., and 3D look to it. So what we'll do is we will tap on the main body of the shutter and create a new layer. We'll go to our colors again and we'll grab the dark tone in the middle of the first column. Selection tool selected, and you want to just make a box that's ever so slightly bigger than our shutters and somewhat even, of course, all the way around as best you can. And then we want to grab our cursor and just kind of move it in towards like a good position that we're happy with, something like that. But from there, we can also create some of those 3D looks to it as well, just to separate it, which will look really nice. So we'll go to our colors, we'll grab the bottom of the first column, selection tool selected. Now we just need to triple check we haven't yet tapped on this layer and alpha lock it. Then go to your selection tool, use freehand, and again, create those diagonal lines. Now you need to kind of guesstimate it somewhat, but it's not important. You know, you go into the shape slightly, you come down into this corner and then into this corner and then across. And then you'll create that little bit of a kind of lip at the bottom, gives it that little 3D look to it. Now you can, if you want to, also create it on sort of the edge over here, which is something I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my selection tool. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom and I'm just going to cut across there, go all the way to the top. I'm going to go in towards where I imagine that is. So I think it's going to be around about here and then cut across, tapping. That's all I'm doing is tapping. And then because I'm over here, I can tap on my selection tool when I'm done. And now I've got a little bit more of that recess there into the actual shutter space. Let's go ahead and add some additional recessing though around the outside edge. So we'll go to the big shape here at the bottom, tap on it and alpha lock it. We'll go to our selection tool and I'm going to go ahead and use rectangle this time. I'm going to try and create just a light edge just down this left hand side like so. There we go. And then I'm going to go to my selection tool again, and I'm going to go across the top, creating a little tiny one. you can see it's literally about a few pixels high. And then we'll create a little bit of depth on that edge as well. So we'll go to our middle color of the first column, selection tool again, and we'll create a shadow both on the side and on the bottom. Now, I'm not too fussed about the bottom necessarily. I'll tap on my selection tool when I'm done. It can just be a few pixels. That's no stress. Awesome. Let's carry on then. We've got a few more additional shapes to create. Now, we want to go ahead and kind of finish this window off. So we're going to go above all of these layers. Now, while we're here, let's swipe from left to right on all of the items for our window or shutter and group it together and rename it and call it shutter. I apologize if I keep getting my words wrong. I've recorded so many tutorials lately, back to back. It's becoming quite a lot. So let's go ahead and create a new layer right at the very top of our shutter group. Let's go to our colors. I want to grab this dark tone here. It's the top of the fifth column. My brush wants to be the monoline brush. And I'm going to tap over here and just towards the middle, I'm going to try and create like a bit of an ellipse-like shape. So I could probably do with making my brush a little bit smaller. So just put it down to 0. And I'm going to create like a bit of an ellipse and hold my pen at the end and pop one finger on the screen just to kind of create as straight as possible. Drag and drop my color in, grab my cursor and just push it into the center. There we go. I'll zoom out, just take a look, little handle there on the inside. Now we could create a lovely little shadow off of there, so why not? Let's go ahead and swipe this layer to the left and duplicate it. The bottom one out the 2. Let's then go to our colors and grab the middle of the first column and drag it into that ellipse shape. And then grab your cursor and just move the shadow down ever so slightly. And you should be able to create like a little bit of a shadow hanging from there. Then we want to create the sort of attachments to the wall. So we're going to go ahead and we can put this probably in here. Let's tap on a bottom layer here, create a new layer, and then drag that layer above it so that the new layer we created is the bottom one in the group. Then we're going to go to our colors and just triple check. We switch it back to the top of the fifth column. Selection tool selected again. And I'm going to just chuck one in here, like a little bit of a bracket. There we go, tap on my selection tool when I'm done. That doesn't look too bad. We'll go to our layer, swipe it to the left and duplicate it. Grab your cursor and just move it all the way down and you'll be able to get 3 blue lines. There we go, which lets me know I am moved perfectly down and not to the right or left. And I'm just going to eyeball it as best as I can. I'm roughly about sort of here and tap on my selection tool when I'm done. And then I'll pinch those 2 together onto one layer. And let's create like a little shadow for those as well. Why not? Let's swipe it to the left and duplicate it. The bottom one out the 2, let's tap on it. Let's alpha lock it. We'll grab the shadow color for the wall, which is the middle of the second column. We'll tap on the layer, we'll fill it, and then we'll grab our cursor. And again, in a similar fashion to the little handle there, we'll just move this slightly down. You could move it ever so slightly to the right if you wanted, but I'm more focused on the downward shadow, and then maybe 1, 2, 3 taps to the right just to create a bit of a recessed shadow almost as well. Now there is one more shadow I do want to create, and that's just behind there. So I'm going to go ahead and I will create a new layer. Where it is perfectly fine underneath. I mean, in fact, you could probably grab the layer below it and move it above so that our new layer that we created again is bottom of the group. Grab your selection tool, just slightly lower than the top right corner there, but all kind of flush at the bottom so it links up perfectly at the bottom. Just create like a bit of a shadow there. So I'll tap on my selection tool like so. So it needs to come down a little bit more. So I need to zoom in and just bring that so it's nice and straight with the bottom of the window. Because again, the sill, I imagine, is sticking out slightly towards us. We've got a little bit more of a shadow there, which looks quite nice. Now that shutter's looking a little bit boring though, because it's a bit too flat. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our shutter group. The only thing we need to make sure we tidy up is where we've got these actual shutters here and we've got it clipped to the layer. Just pinch the 2 together. So now there shouldn't be any excess. If you tap on it and select it, you can see the color and the shape that it is. So we know it's not running too far away. So I'll undo that. And then the only thing you want to do, just to add a bit of an angle to it, is if you collapse the group down, so it's like so, and then tap on your cursor when you're done and use the option here of distort, you can just pitch this top left corner up ever so slightly. Tap on your cursor when you're done and you'll just get a little bit more of a sort of angle and a pitch to it. You could make it a little bit higher if needs be, and you just want to make sure the bottom is flat, but I mean, you could also have that point ever so slightly down. I wouldn't do it too much, to be honest with you, because you do need to make sure that if that was to swing round, it could, of course, do so without this lip. So just a teeny tiny little bit of an angle to it. And then just like before, swipe it to the left and duplicate it. Now, if you struggle for layers because you've kept your other ones, the simple trick to do is just turn off your background color, hold down on the tick, then you've got everything there only showing. Swipe down with 3 fingers and go to copy all. And then again, turn on your background color, hold down on the tick again, and then swipe down with 3 fingers and go to paste. It will have pasted everything it saw onto one new layer, and you can flip it horizontal now. And again, move it across and try and get those blue lines like so. Mimic as best you can, of course, everything. So you want to make sure that the alignment is correct and the gaps on the right are pretty good as well. And there we go, we've got some lovely shutters. Let's create the window box. So at this point, you can keep your layers if you want to, it's totally up to you. I'm going to go ahead though and probably leave them. Now I'm going to create a new layer here, just underneath my sill at the top here. And then I'm going to go to my colors, top of the 4th column, selection tool selected and rectangle, of course. And then I'm going to create a rectangle, and I want it to kind of have like a fairly largish size to it. So I want it to sort of come across to probably around about here. Nice wide window box, and I'll align it as best as I can towards the bottom anyway. And then grab my cursor, make sure it's central. It was 1 pixel off, damn it. And then we've got our box. We do want to use the option of distort though, and just bring in the bottom right and bring in the bottom left to an equal measure. And you can see if you have done, because this little blue dot will either be on that line or not in the center, kind of guesstimating at the same time. So you got your box. You can then go ahead and create another new layer. Go to your selection tool again, and you just want to create the sort of top edge, that kind of overhanging lip of it. And again, apologies actually if there's any background noise. I just decided to do some work outside. So let's create a lip on the top. Grab your cursor again, triple check you best you can. It's nice and central. That looks pretty good. And then we can add some shadows to this as well. So we tap on the box for it, tap on it and alpha lock it so we can't paint outside of it. We'll go ahead and go to our colors. We're going to grab the bottom first of all of the 4th column. We'll go to our selection tool. I'm going to use freehand this time because I'm going to tap instead. I'm going to tap here. I'm going to tap across ever so slightly. And then I'm going to come down to a bit of an angle like here. I'm going to go across the very bottom as best as I can in a straight line. And then down, tap, 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 tap. And then tap on my selection tool when I'm done. So that's kind of my initial shaping that I want to create. I'll tap on it when I'm done. I'll then go to my colors and grab the middle of that 4th column, selection tool. I could use rectangle this time and just create a box underneath that lip there at the top just to darken that up even more. And we've got a nice little darker shadow there. Now it's not to say we can't add a shadow down here. Let's go to our selection tool and use freehand this time. Tap, tap, then a little bit inwards of the shape and then up the edge. Now I actually tapped on the dot, and that sometimes happens because the dot has like a larger touch radius, and then I can tap on here. There we go. Just wanted to add in a nice little dark edge to there as well. So let's now go ahead and populate this with some flowers and greenery, etc. Now I want to go ahead and make sure the greenery sits behind here. So we'll tap on the layer below and create a new layer. Now I preserve all of my layers. If you're struggling, of course, you could pinch your 2 layers at the top here for your sill. You could pinch your box together here if you need to with the lip and the brown area. And of course you could save on your shutter group and your window group. I keep them just in case I want to make changes as always. So yeah, just bear that in mind. This layer here that we just created, let's go to our colors and grab the top of the 6th column. My brush now wants to be the option of calligraphy and the script brush. We've got maximum opacity. Size is set to about sort of 13%. And in here, I want you just to create lots and lots of fun little blades of grass. Now, if I go ahead and tap on the script here and go to stabilization, you can see my streamline. I've got 61%, and stabilization, we've got a little bit in there at 32. So if you're wondering why my lines look particularly kind of smoothed out, that's why. And this is not meant to be grass, of course. I know I just said it's meant, you know, I want you to draw kind of grass-like shapes. I just want you to draw in greenery and just let it sprout all over the place, different weights, different, you know, heaviness to some of it, you know, make it bulky towards the bottom. It's a big, beautiful window box full of beautiful flowers, which we're going to populate in a second. And I want you just to add in, this is the main chunk, okay? So we're going to add in multiple colors on top of this in a second, 2 more green tones. So this is simply just meant to be kind of just laying out the blueprint for the sort of greenery and the flowers, etc. And you can draw in lots and lots of fun little smaller ones if you want to. Make sure the box doesn't look even either as well. Like have some areas get, a little bit higher, maybe on like one side or both sides or either. You can have gaps. It's not a huge problem to see the rest of the glass in behind, but a few little sort of stray long ones will look really nice. Try not to make something look like it's floating though. I do need to connect a few of those lines, and that looks pretty good. I mean, a few of these areas here I could probably tidy up because there's only a very, very small amount of the gap showing, so I could get rid of it if needs be. And that's roughly what we want to go for. We then want to go ahead and let's just simply tap on this layer and alpha lock it. So we can't paint outside of it. We've not really sort of been too careful with our layers today. We're just alpha locking and coloring in. So that's quite fun for a change. We'll bring our opacity down to about 25%. We'll go to our color and grab the middle of the 6th column. We're going to zoom in, and all I want you to do is just basically do exactly what you were doing. But if you've got any grass or blade, I keep saying grass, but you know what I mean, the green areas, if you can see any green areas, maybe you want to kind of just add in like a lighter stroke of green running up some of them, but you don't have to add it in everywhere. You can have blades going in opposite directions. I'm literally just carelessly, in a way, just chucking in some green tones on here. We have one more brighter tone to add in. Don't get rid of all of the dark tone, especially towards kind of the back. What you kind of want to give the illusion of is we've got dark tones at the very back, which are not getting any light, and then these green tones towards the front progressively get more lighter because they have light landing on them. So for example, now if I go to my colors and grab the bottom of that 6th column, we're in the lighter tone again. I can add this right at the very front, and you should end up with this kind of lovely collage almost of beautiful green tones. Now, because I've got this kind of shadow and I can see the shadow here on this lip, I'm not going to add anything in this kind of section over here that I've just highlighted in green. I'm going to leave that quite dark. I'm going to focus my greens now towards the right hand side, and that just shows someone looking at this that you are abiding by the kind of lighting, and it's trying to affect it here, there and everywhere. Now, to be honest with you, we've probably been incorrect though in some areas. For example, the highlight edge here should probably be on the left side because the light, if it's coming across, would hit that edge. But we're not being too particular. If we don't have to be, we can just have fun. Anyway, there's all our green work in there. Let's now go ahead and populate it with some flowers. So this is where your layers are going to get a bit crazier. So you may want to consider flattening your layers if you haven't already. Create a new layer. Go to your colors. Let's just start off with this red at the top of the 7th column or 4th column from the right. And you just want to simply now create a flower. 1 petal, 2 petal, sprouting out from one particular section, and just have them all bouncing out like so. You can add in, say, the tone that's sort of close to it, the similar tone in there, add in some variation in the colors. But all you really want to do then is grab like a yellow and just chuck in your center, and you can tap a few times. Now my opacity is set quite low, so I'm going to bring it up to 100%. There we go. I've got my first flower. And all you want to do is just keep populating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. I'm then going to create a yellow flower, for example. So I'm going to grab the top of the 3rd column from the right. I'm going to use that as a bit of a guide. So I'm just going to, for example, use that as a bit of a guide, but I'm going to go ahead and create a flower. Now, sometimes I actually draw out the petals rather than just absolutely free roaming it. It just makes life a little bit easier. And then occasional, like little smaller ones in the gaps look quite nice occasionally. There we go. Now you can separate that, of course, using a lighter tone there, so you can introduce your actual petals into here, and that should help isolate a few of the shapes. Now it's not meant to be hyper detailed or anything like that. Go to your colors and grab, say, for instance, the red at the bottom of that column, and just chuck a little dot in the middle. It's just meant to be a bit of fun, of course, and it's quite small at the same time. And all I want you to do is then is just create more flowers. So create a new layer, go to your colors. Let's grab a white tone this time. Let's zoom in and let's try and create another one. I'm going to use the dark background as a bit of a guide. I'm going to sort of sprout that all out from a central point. That one looks quite nice. And then I'll add a little yellow center to it, like so, like a fried egg. We'll create another new layer. We'll go to our colors and grab the blue this time. And we'll add in another one, another one. All my flowers looking a bit droopy. And then we'll add in what color should we go for? Let's go for like an orangey-ish tone. I could probably grab this tone here, top of the 4th column, and chuck in, there we go, like a little additional color in the inside. It's just meant to be, again, fairly straightforward and simple. Now, At some point, you then want to start swiping these to the left and duplicating them and just moving them around, rotate them slightly, scale them up and down if you need to. And I want you just to create, using the uniform options probably best, a real just collage of color and just chucking them all over. And this is going to take a little bit of time, and it's not necessarily anything particular that we're looking for. We're just trying to fill out a good amount of area, because in a minute, once we've added in like a good amount of coverage, a lot like stars, when I do stars on the channel in a nighttime sky, we're going to just duplicate all of these flowers in a minute and kind of just use another layer to like really fill out this window box. So yeah, you can take as long as you want. If you want to really manually get in there and detail absolutely every little aspect of here and fill out everywhere, that is totally up to you. And I urge you to, if you've got the time. I'm just showing you the process that's involved here more so. That's looking quite full. Let's go ahead and grab some more red, I think. Duplicate that, grab that, chuck it in the center, flatten it down a little bit. And once you've got like a little bit of a collection going on, what you can then do is pinch them all together. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a bit brave, just pinch all of them together into one layer and then swipe it to the left and duplicate it. I'll grab my cursor, and then what you can do is you can just like sort of flip it horizontal. You shouldn't see too much repetition, but if you do, that's not a problem. Just scale it down in size, try and fill it out again like so, and then maybe duplicate that one as well and flip it horizontal again. And at some point, you're probably gonna, as I said, see some repetition. I'm gonna flip it horizontal, see if I can find a location. So maybe somewhere like here. And then if you get any really big rogue ones leaning off to the edge or floating away, just delete them with your eraser. And then at that point, you probably need to pinch them together. You could duplicate the entire lot here and just shift it, flip it horizontal, try and find another way of sort of saving some time in a way and just creating a really big window box. Now, of course, I've got a few that are floating away towards the top here, so I'm just going to use my eraser to get rid of them. But we've already created a really lovely big collection of flowers. And then it's up to you if you want to manually get in there and start filling in a few. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to find a layer like here. I can see this yellow one that's floating just up here. I'm going to grab my selection tool and turn off color fill. And I'll just select it because I can copy and paste it then. And then I'm going to grab my cursor. I'm going to move it down just so it kind of would look like it hangs over the edge. And then I'm going to make it hang over the edge by moving it in front of the box. And then that way you kind of get a little bit more of a nod towards it actually sort of not just all being flat objects. Things are layered, which looks quite nice. And then you could just, for example, just start drawing in some more flowers. So I can let's grab the red again. I'll grab this red here. In fact, I'll grab this red. We've not used this one yet. The bottom of the second column from the right. And I'll just draw in another one. So just another simple looking flower. I could probably bring my brush size down and create some more actual like purposeful like petals instead. Give them a little bit more of a flip to them, etc. And then in the center, I'll grab a bit more of this red just beside it. Just adding in some additional color on some of those. Lovely color tones. And then I'll just chuck in, let's go for a white center. Why not? Let's have a lovely white center. That's lovely. And then from there, swipe it to the left and duplicate it and just go crazy again. And then I urge you just to put a few of them again, hanging over the edge will look nice. And you just keep filling it in until you're happy with the window box. This is really honestly something you could sit and have so much fun with. Fill it in all over. And if you've got any that are kind of floating, i.e. like this yellow one here, just chuck in a few more around it and you might just be about to sort of get away with it. I can just put one there and it just about looks like I'll get away with it. Now, if you don't, what you're going to need to do is, let me just move that one down before I carry on. Let's move that one into, say, here. If it doesn't, you're going to need to go back down to your kind of grassy layer and tap on it and turn off the alpha lock. Grab any green that you feel is appropriate. I'm going to grab the top of the 6th column and continue with the same brush. I'll just simply create like a stem for them. That's all I need to do then. If you're concerned that they look like they're floating too much, just a few easy stems in there and you can connect everything in. Now, another thing you can experiment with, once you start to populate it like this, you may want to go ahead and change the amount of scale. So what I've done is I've selected the grass and all of my flower layers. Now let's just do this properly. If I go to my layers, I can pinch all of those flowers that sit above the pot and the ones below. So all I've done, tap on my grass, swipe from left to right on all of them, and then I'll grab my cursor. And you need to take a look at your own and just triple check this is possible, but you might be able to use uniform and scale it up potentially. And if you do, you just need to take a look and make sure everything kind of fits as it should do. I can get away with a little bit, but not really a lot there. In case I just want to sort of make them a bit bigger, you may have to get into some of these grasses and even flowers. So I could find the flower layer there that sits on and just delete certain elements. But you've got the option with this particular design today to start scaling things up and down. And because everything's been kept quite simple, I'm just able to make sure that, you know, we can do very quick and easy adjustments. So I'm just going to try and trim away at this piece of grass there. That's lovely. And then the only thing I really want to do, I've got kind of two things I want to do. This lip here for our window box, I'm going to go ahead and just tap on it and alpha lock it, so I can't paint outside of it. I'm going to go to my brush and triple check we switch it to, as it should have been anyway, the script brush under calligraphy. And I'm going to go to my colors and grab just the lighter shadow, the bottom of the fourth column. I want maximum opacity. Size doesn't really matter, but I've got it set to 4%. That's no biggie. I'm going to tap away, and just underneath some of these flowers, if they overhang, I just want to create like a bit of a shadow just underneath them. Just a little bit of a shadow, just to add in a little bit of extra sort of three-dimensional look to it. The other thing I'm going to do is go down to the box itself and to grab my cursor. And earlier on we used distort. I'm going to use distort again. I'm going to bring it in even more. It's not quite got the look I wanted initially. So a little bit of an adjustment, and then another adjustment to that top lip. If we go back to it, sticking with the same color, it's alpha locked already. I'm going to kind of carry on this line here, but it just needs to be slightly to the left, I believe. Just here, and then I'll just color in the whole of the left-hand side, just giving it a little bit of a shadow. And then I think I'm even going to go to my selection tool and use rectangle and color fill back on. And I'm just going to create like a couple of pixels just at the bottom edge there to create a bit of a shadow. And then likewise, I might even add in a bit of a shadow on that right-hand side too. If we pinch with two fingers, we go up to our actions and turn off our drawing guide and then go full screen with 4, we end up with today's finished design. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. It's quite a fun one to make. It's nice to keep things simple from time to time and just have fun and not have to stress too much about sort of shadows and highlights when they're manually done. Using the selection tool can keep things nice and flat and fun. As always, make sure to tag me in your finished creations wherever you decide to share them, like Instagram and Facebook, like my Facebook group as well. And if you want even more tutorials from me, you can come and join me over on Patreon, because that's where I post 3 more exclusive tutorials every single month to my Patreon supporters. And the catalogue sits at well over 140 at the time of recording. And with 3 added every single month, it just continues to grow. And if you enjoyed this video here on YouTube, you'll love this one on the screen now. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.